At one point in a past business relationship, I had to say no to my customer. I had committed to the customer to present a training seminar without realizing the true nature of the training the customer wanted. When I realized what they really wanted, I realized that it was beyond my competency, so I called the customer to say I would have to pass on the job. The customer was very angry, but I couldn't understand why. After all, would he have wanted me to agree to a job which I wasn't qualified to perform? Still, he was very angry, so I asked my business consultant for his input. He told me that the reason the customer was angry was probably because he thought he had a solution to a problem, but suddenly it was yanked away from him. My consultant told me that while I was right to pass on the job, I should have also contacted my competitors to find someone who could do the job and made arrangements with them to present the training before I called the customer. You see, I now realize that I did the right thing in passing on the job, but by not offering an alternative, I left my customer hanging, and that's never a good thing to do. Think of how we feel when someone does that to us. At best, it's annoying, but at worst, it's frustrating and even maddening. No wonder my customer was angry. The lesson learned is simple and very important. There are going to be times when we have to say no to a customer, an end user. When we have to say no, we must first work to understand the business reasons for the request and then be prepared with an alternative or a full explanation. For example, suppose an end user wants to set up a network share on her laptop computer, but a group policy object has been configured to prevent that, and she wants you to create an exception. Such a share violates company policy due to security and backup issues, and you may not even have the authorization or permission to modify group policy settings. You can, however, set up a network share for her workgroup on a workgroup server. Start by trying to understand the business need for the share. Say something like, "Help me understand what the share is for." Once you understand the business reason for the share, you think a network share on the server might solve the problem. And you might say something like, "I'm sorry I can't set that up for you on your computer because it violates company policy on security and data backup, but I can set up a share for you on a network server that will do exactly the same thing. Will that work for you?" Of course, it's also important to consider who is making the request. For example, if a C-level executive or a manager is making the request, the answer is usually yes. In that type of situation, you should also immediately make your supervisor aware of the request and your actions in response to the request. If responding to the request is beyond your scope of responsibility or outside of your authority, you should explain that and then immediately offer to escalate. As with every aspect of customer service, we must always put ourselves in the customer's position. Imagine how we would feel if someone had to say no to us. Wouldn't we want to be offered alternatives or at the very least a reasonable explanation of why the request had to be turned down? Certainly, we must also remember to respond with empathy and compassion for our customer, our fellow human who's trying to do his or her job. We must always remember that we in information systems and technology are the liaisons between our customers, our end users, and the software and systems we support.